weekly prep video. Let's get to it. Um, the first thing I want to say is, if anybody is trading, wanting to trade like this, um, I use two things in my trading. Very simple: time-based liquidity and fair value gaps. Um, I was marking out all of my time-based liquidity, and then I found this wonderful, wonderful indicator called P-level by Spaceman BTC. I put it on the charts and I just was using the default. And today I finally went in there just to see what all was in it. And I realized I was missing a lot. Um, so we have all of our levels marked. We can shorthand those into abbreviations if we want using global shorthand, or you can just have the full spell out. Um, I found that this hat gives me the levels for the previous 4 hour candle, which is fantastic to have. I don't use the open, but I do want to see the high and the low and the midpoint. Um, we have daily levels, the Monday range, which Monday levels are very important for to set up the rest of the week. Weekly levels, monthly levels, quarterly levels, and yearly levels. The fun part was, a lot of you have seen me use the ICT Seek and Destroy indicator to find my Asia high, Asia low, London high, and London lows so that I could put those on the charts manually. Don't need to do that anymore because down at the bottom, this has a wonderful thing called FX Sessions, um, and it will give you the ranges of London, Asia, and New York. Okay? Um, so and you can customize the times you want those sessions to be. I have cut the New York session off at 10:30 because I will not be trading after 10:30. So the New York low isn't actually the true New York low, but it doesn't matter to me. The low I don't care about. Um, During the trading day, yes, I want to know where the New York low is. If we're up above it, to see if we're going to come down, break it, go lower, right? But after 10:30, I don't care because if I'm not in a trade, I'm not going to be taking a trade. So I'm done for the day and we can close it out at 10:30. So I have my Asia session from 6 p.m. to midnight, and then my London session from midnight to 6 a.m. And then New York session starts at 6 a.m. and runs for me through 10:30. My trading hours are from 7:30 to 10:30. Um, those are the only 3 hours of the day where I will be taking trades. So I set everything up the way I want it, colored everything out the way I want it. I saved it as default, and that is it. I no longer need the ICT Seek and Destroy indicator. The only thing this doesn't put on my charts is 4 hour swing points because it only gives me the levels for the last 4 hour candle or the previous 4 hour candle, and it will consolidate levels as well. So this is the current year high, and it's also the previous day high. So you get to see those as well. Okay. This is gold because it is the only market I have not marked up yet. Everything else is already marked up, and we'll go over it. But I want you to see the process from beginning to end. And as soon as I open up my chart after the end of, at the end of the week, I go back and I look at my trades. Um, and review the week. Then I do the Friday review. Then I look back at the week and do my weekly review on myself. Ask myself how I did, how I could have gotten better, what I did wrong, what I did right, all of that good stuff that you will see in the new videos that I posted in the video channel. I love this guy. He was recommended by Casper. Rips also follows him. Um, he's a very accomplished trader, and he is a no bullshit kind of person. He calls it like he sees it. He doesn't do a lot of content, but he does have some on YouTube, and even though it's older content, it is still very relevant. So I posted a couple of his videos, and I always get a good laugh somewhere in there along the way while I'm learning something. Um, so yeah, first thing I do after I do my reviews is I go in and I remove all drawings from my chart. Okay, the indicator will stay, but all the drawings that I had from last week need to disappear, and I want to start new again. All right. And if we start with the weekly candles, or weekly chart, just to see what price has been doing, consolidation over a nice long period of time, and finally broke out and went to make new highs. Um, right, that'll work. Um, I'm not looking to form a bias here off the weekly chart. I just kind of want to see where my weekly internal and external liquidity is, right? So we're at all-time highs. That's a pretty good sell wick. Um, we'll have to see what happens from there, but we did create a fair value gap going into that high. So I want to mark that fair value gap out uh, as a weekly fair value gap. Turn it green for bullish. Now, all of my drawings on the weekly chart, I have my templates set up, and on my weekly chart, all my drawings only show up on the weekly chart. I do the same thing for the daily chart, and any drawings on the 4-hour chart, I want those to be shown on the 4-hour, the 15-minute, and the 1-minute. So I show those all the way down to the 1-minute, which is the chart I trade off of. All right, so we've got that as a fair value gap. Our first weekly swing point is going to be right here, and we will lock that in. And then, of course, we have the all-time high as the other swing point. Okay, that's really all I need on this chart. We're bullish until it tells us otherwise. Um, and at some point, I would expect, since we've just made a new high, all-time high, and we had that big wick back down, I would expect us to roll over, at the very least, come into this fair value gap for liquidity before heading higher, uh, because we did break structure, and after every break of structure, what happens? We get a pullback. Maybe that's as much of a pullback as we're going to get, and we go up higher again. Who knows? We'll let price action tell us. But that's all I need on the weekly chart. I know on the weekly we're bullish. We just made a fair value gap. We just made an all-time high. We had a good pullback with a sell wick on that on last week. And I want to move to the daily chart from there. The daily chart gives us a little bit more information and allows us to um, make those levels a little bit smaller. I mean, who wants to be trading that big of a range on a weekly chart, right? Um, so again, this gives us a little bit more insight into what happened last week. Uh, that pullback actually broke a daily low, uh, which would indicate the start of a pullback. We are into a daily fair value gap that was made on the way back up, and we have not closed below 50% of it. Daily fair value gap, lock it in, and that's cool. So we'll need to see what the overnight session on Sunday gives us into Monday morning open. Um, After that, we have this fair value gap here, and I will mark that one out in case we just blow through this one on Monday. Um, that's a daily fair value gap. Lock it in. All right. Daily swing points. Obviously, again, all-time high. Next swing point isn't until down here, which I'm going to guess is the weekly swing point as well. But we are going to mark it out as a daily so that we see it on the daily when we come in and take a look, right? All right, that's all we need on the daily. We've taken our external liquidity and looks like we've started a pullback into internal liquidity, whether that's this one or this one. Um, I am not sure. What I do see, which is kind of interesting, is rebalance redistribution right here. And what that is when the wicks on either side of a candle overlap each other. Um, a lot of times you'll see them come and touch and they go back. When they overlap, this is what we call rebalance and redistribution. Uh, the way Casper explains it, that makes this gap right here a breakout gap, which guess what? It was, right? Um, we broke out from here, consolidated a bit, and then we broke structure and headed for all-time highs. So this is a breakout gap. The rebalance and redistribution area is an area that we should not come back to unless the market is going to do a pretty decent reversal. So what I like to do is take that rebalance redistribution area from the body of this candle to the body of this candle, which is the overlapping wicks, and I don't have a redistribution, uh, but what we're going to do is this is the daily chart, right? Only want to see it on days, and I'm just going to change that color to orange for that rebalance redistribution and see if price actually comes back to it um, and or breaks it. If it does, um, I don't think this fair value gap will hold up. I think we actually end up going lower. Um, so good things to know, right? All right. So that is all I need to see on the daily chart. And then we'll move down to the 4 hour. Now the 4 hour is where I start picking up my daily bias, um, my draws on liquidity, um, and so forth, right? So we are again in this fair value gap. So that fair value gap is basically on the weekly, the daily, and the 4 hour. And all of these drawings will show up on my 1 minute chart. 4 hour fair value gap, bullish, lock it in. Below that, we have this gap right here. Now this is our rebalance redistribution area on the 4 hour, right? But I am going to mark out this fair value gap as well, even though they are right next to each other. Fair value gap, bullish, lock it in. All right. That's pretty much all I want to put here. If we break below these, then, you know, I'll look lower. I know the next one's down here, but that's a little ways away. So right now, all I need is my 4 hour. And this is interesting. On the 4 hour, we had a range. We popped up, made all-time highs, and came right back down into range. That is a pretty decent manipulation move to show a move lower. Just how low do we go? We'll have to see. So we have a 4 hour swing point there. There. In the right spot. Okay, just making sure. 4 hour swing point there. And 4-hour swing point there. Down below, this is our first one there. That one there, which was the Monday low. That's all I need on the daily chart. I am going to be looking to be bearish in gold, uh, especially if we invert this fair value gap here, which is the last fair value gap made before making the all-time high and showing a reversal, because we did break structure on the 4-hour, closed below, pulled back up, and now I'm looking for us to reverse and head back down. This was displacement through a low, so we could literally look and see where we're at. If we take this here, I would say this is where the selling started, and we take a look at where we're at. We broke into premium pricing again and just wicked back at the last part of Friday below 50%. Could easily get a move up to the 6.2 to then head back down. So we'll see what price action does over the Asia and London sessions upcoming starting tomorrow, and make our decisions in the New York session based on that. But that's what I see so far. Right. All of these levels obviously are going to change come Sunday night when the market opens, except for this one. uh, but all of the session levels will change, and the Monday sessions will change as well. All right. So bearish on gold at the moment. I kind of like the way that looks and is setting up for a reversal. We have the original consolidation, one consolidation, two consolidations, manipulation move above range, and a reversal that closes below structure. If we invert this, this is the last fair value gap made on the push up, and would be a good, very, very nice entry spot as an inverted fair value gap if we get there. All right. So that is the process I follow in marking up my charts, and use the same process on every asset that I look at, which right now is gold, crude, uh, the Dow, and the NASDAQ. Okay. Those are the 4 charts that I mark up and want to look at. So let's take a quick look at CL that is already marked up. And on the 4-hour chart, uh, we came up into this 4-hour gap, stopped right at the 50%, and came back to search internal liquidity. Um, this uh, this looks ripe for the taking to me. We made this bearish gap. I think we're going to go back up and test into that, but I think then we fall, um, because we didn't get back into this fair value gap, which is the next fair value gap we have on the way down from hitting this 4-hour gap here. And the reason I think we're going for that 4-hour gap is we've been manufacturing liquidity up here. Okay. This range right here was made uh, after this low. Okay. So we got 3 candles that made the range. We popped down. We were at the bottom of the range. We never got a manipulation move to the downside, which would have hit that fair value gap. What we are getting now is a push up back to the top of range. Okay. If we break the range to the upside into this fair value gap, that very well could create the 4-hour manipulation move above the range to come back lower and actually hit this fair value gap. We also have one, well, that's a previous 4-hour low, but we have 1, 2, 3 swing points down here, really close together. That is stacked liquidity, and I believe it is probably being manufactured uh, just so that when they do the manipulation move into the fair value gap and we come back down, there are a lot of stops down here that can be run for liquidity into this fair value gap to then head back north or fail and continue heading south. If we zoom out a bit on the 4-hour chart, uh, we've taken this low here, we've taken this low here, taken this low. We did not take this low, this low, or this low. Okay. Again, stacked liquidity in a small ranged area. Okay. And then we bounced up into, okay, so number one, this is a 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart is bearish, okay, until we get a reversal signal. And that would be breaking structure, well up here, okay. So we are bearish in a bearish trend, holding very well. So we very well could come back down, grab this liquidity, get through that fair value gap and invert it to go down, sweep this low. And if we sweep this low, I think we're grabbing these lows as well, right? All right. And then we could have a very nice reversal to the upside. This is a pretty strong V. 1 consolidation, 2 consolidation, 3 consolidations, and a drop. This is the first real consolidation on the way back down. So I don't think the sell side of this market maker model is done yet, uh, unless we're just going to uh, roll over or just bounce from here. It's possible. We did sweep these lows here. We couldn't displace below them, so we came back. But I think all we're doing is coming back for internal liquidity before going and taking external liquidity. I could very well be wrong here, but uh, it just looks too good to come back down here right now. Uh, we'll see what, again, the overnight sessions bring us on Sunday into Monday. Uh, and that's crude oil. Let's take a look at YM. YM did us no favors at the end of last week. It popped up and gave us a new all-time high right around the $43,000 level. And then aggressively pulled back. Okay. I do kind of like that as a starting point for the sell side of the curve. We have liquidity drawn here, one consolidation, basically one consolidation, two consolidations, three consolidations, and then possibly a manipulation move up on the 4-hour out of this range, only to come down and start hitting the sell side of the curve. That is possible. Is it going to happen? Who knows? I mean, I don't know. If I knew, it'd be great. Um, but we're basically looking at this being the buy side and hoping that we now have a sell side starting. Okay. No, I don't draw perfect, nice little circles, half circles for my buy side, sell side. Um, but this is what I'm kind of hoping. It's kind of in the same place as crude or gold. Uh, or was it crude? One or the other. Anyway, last fair value gap that was made before a harsh rejection and a push down. We have not closed below 50%. Well, barely. We did. Um, but the overnight session will definitely tell us, I think, whether or not we invert this gap or we go retest up here and then come down to invert that gap. If we do that, then we've got, a couple of swing points down here. I like this area really well because we have our 4-hour swing point right at the top of that fair value gap, which means it has been touched, but we haven't really done much with it. I would love to see a 50% stop and reversal to go back up to the inverted. Hopefully we make a bearish fair value gap in here as well. So we have the inverted and a bear coming down into this level to reverse and go back up to test that. So we'll take a look, keep a watch on it. As always, we've got to wait until uh, we see what price does, right? Let's see what the overnight Globex session does for us and make a decision from there. That is always going to be my statement. I never know exactly where the market's going to go. I have an idea on a bias. We just have to see if it plays out. And good thing about only trading the New York session, we get to see the price action of Asia and London to see if that bias is playing through. So on the NQ, I am bearish. Overall, I am bullish. If we look at the weekly, uh, we came into uh, that fair value gap and we could roll over to come back into this one, which would be fine. But if we zoom out, um, ever since we made these lows, then we came back. We had this sweep of liquidity. And again, that very nice rejection wick that I love to see for a reversal. Since then, um, we made uh, we made a lower high, but then we came back and we made a higher low. Then we made a higher high. This is what I want to see us roll over a little bit and even coming back down to test this with uh, a black week uh, to give us another higher low would give me the 3 points I need to verify a bullish structure. But taking that into account, you know, we pretty much have a range here in this area uh, with the bodies, and we just broke out of that range and got rejected off this. Don't know if we can consider that a manipulation move to go lower, or um, which I don't think so, and this is why. We made a bullish fair value gap on the way up. We immediately inverted that fair value gap, which should have pushed price down further, but it did not. We immediately fake flipped that inverted fair value gap and went higher. Okay. So to me, this is a signal that the buyers are stronger, much stronger than the sellers. Um, and we should be heading up to all-time highs. I just want to see us roll over from here um, after tapping this weekly fair value gap back down into this weekly fair value gap before heading higher. Okay. Um, So on the daily, uh, pretty much the same thing. It is showing us this could be, our reversal to go down into internal liquidity. We just swept external, hit the 50% mark of the daily fair value gap. Nice strong rejection wick, and we closed below on the next candle, below the body of the previous day. Good sign that we are going to go lower and seek out internal liquidity before going back up. So we move down to the 4 hour, and again with the same bias, I am bullish uh, overall, but I think we are in a pullback in search of internal liquidity. Uh, Nice little range was built here. Um, we did pop low, which you see a lot. Then we get the true manipulation move above range. We retest it and we fail. Okay. Um, that is our internal search for liquidity. Is this 4 hour low enough liquidity to get us to move back up? It could be, but I would really like to see us come down and at least tap this fair value gap before heading back up into this inverted bullish and 4 hour bearish. Okay. Um, Again, we'll see what the Globex session does come Sunday night, and maybe that will give us a little bit more clarity into what is going on. Right. So that's it. Those are the only markets I watch. NASDAQ is pretty much the only one I trade, as everyone knows, but I will be open to seeing trades on other assets. That is it for the weekly prep, and I almost kept that video under 30 minutes. My goals for the week is better trade management once I'm in a trade. And what I mean by better is making good profits with smaller size than what I've been trading. Um, 'Cause I have blown a couple of combines, blew one of the funded accounts um, that I just passed, uh, and uh, so yeah, right now I am down to uh, my funded account that has 60K in it, and another funded account that has about 4,000. Um, and just going back over my trades, I'm reading the market well, I'm trading the market well. I think there are just points where I get in with too big a size and uh, can't handle the drawdown on the pullbacks. Uh, so I want to manage my trades a little bit better this week as far as how much I'm putting on, how much size I'm putting on when I add to the trades. Uh, my entry is always one contract. I think I'm going to start with an entry of two contracts, and then either add one contract on my add points or two contracts on my add points. I am not going to push myself to 5 or 10 contract adds anymore. Um, I'm going to take some smaller profits, work a little bit slower towards those profit goals, because right now I am, October, November, December, January. I am 4 months away um, from retiring from the transportation business. So I want to get several combines passed and get those buffers built without taking as much risk to do so. Okay. Um, and that is it. That's my goal for the week. Everything else I've been doing really well, waiting for my levels, price to hit my levels before entering trades. Uh, you know, Gathering my daily bias has been pretty spot on for a while. Uh, and correctly identifying my draws on liquidity have been pretty good. So the one thing I do need to work on is my trade management once I'm in a trade, and that is the goal for this week. That being said, when there's something I need to work on, usually for a few days to a week, I will trade that in a paper account and work on it in a paper account so that I'm not worried about profit and loss. I'm just working on improving my process. So I will be on Trading Live next week. I am going to try to get on every day, and I will be getting on at 7 o'clock in the morning, New York time. Uh, and that gives me 30 minutes to evaluate the Asia and the London sessions before my trade window opens, which is between 7:30 and 10:30. I will be sticking to that window. I will not be trading past 10:30. So I will be live from 7 a.m. till 10:30, and we'll be shutting off the live there. Our live channels are completely open to the Discord members. So if anyone else wants to continue a live session after that, you're more than welcome to. I think, everybody in here would benefit from seeing other traders, how they trade live. Um, and believe it or not, um, especially for those that are struggling, uh, doing a live session, especially if you have people in there watching you, it is a great accountability tool, so that you stick to your process. Um, that is, of course, as long as people know what your process is. Uh, Everybody here knows my rules. They know what I'm looking for. If you've watched any of my videos, you know all of that. So if you come into the live session and you see me doing something outside of my trade plan, then hey, call me out on it. Uh, you know, ask me why I'm doing that. It's not in my plan. It's not in my system. Why am I taking that trade? If I don't have a really good reason for it, um, I'm just gonna have to say, you got me. Close the trade. So I enjoy doing them. Um, I'm hoping that they're helping the other members in the community that are trading ICT. And so I'm going to be looking to do them every day, whether I trade or not. I want to be on there watching the charts, um, and explaining anything I can, uh, while we're in there together. We have, had some, Mizzy and David are usually always in there in the mornings, which is great. Uh, for a while there, I was doing them, but wasn't getting any participation in them. It's nice to have some people in there now. Um, they come on in the mornings with me, uh, and I'm hoping that it is definitely helping, uh, you know, us getting together live in their trading as well, because I know it helps me. So that is it, folks. Uh, if you want to try to trade this kind of system, I'm not saying you have to trade exactly like me, but um, I use two things: time-based liquidity and fair value gaps. It's a very simple system to set up, very simple system to follow. Um, and if you are thinking about it, definitely take a look at that indicator for your time-based liquidity levels. Key level indicator by Spaceman BTC. Um, it's definitely made my life a lot easier. If I could just get an indicator that draws the fair value gaps the way I want them, that would be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it is what it is. So, alrighty, I am out of here. I hope everybody has a blessed rest of their weekend. Uh, and I will see everyone on the trading floor come Monday morning. Take care, everybody.